listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
Oklahoma was able to come out of a scary one against Auburn. It was tight. We were down 11 points in the fourth quarter. But there's this little thing called Sooner Magic. We're going to talk about it here on the Sooner Spotlight post-game reaction show here live. Jump in the comments. Let's get to it. What is up, Sooner Nation? Yes, I know we are a little late on this post-game reaction show, but you know what? It was due to a very good reason. Lots of traveling today. I had to get where I needed to get to, and there was a lot of traveling. Anyways, we are on here. We are on a little bit later than usual, but we had to get on here and give a little bit of a reaction to an amazing win. Not an amazing game. Pretty poor game if you ask Sooner fans overall. I think we can be pretty disappointed overall with the game, but be very happy with a very good win, because this one was super detrimental for the rest of the season and really just the rest of going into the SEC. You don't want to be losing these kinds of games, and especially against an Auburn team that we talked about this. We should be able to beat Auburn, but we're going to get into that, get into why it was such a close game. We're going to get into so much more. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this on social media if you would. We'd like to get a hold of more Oklahoma fans and make this into a community. This is a show where I don't want to talk at you guys. I want to talk with you guys. So let's get into it. Let's go ahead and just jump into this game. First, starting off, what do we have to start off with? We had the first drive of the game, a big-time run by Michael Hawkins, and this felt like, oh my gosh, first, let's back it up, and defense played an outstanding first drive. First pass, no gain, and really good on those screen passes too. Those screen passes all season long, the defense has been reacting to them, and that's one thing that I love to see. They've been reacting really quick. There was a couple of others too where I think Auburn got away with some holds on the outside that kind of caused us not to be able to get back there and explode it. But if you can get away with them, hey, I can't really fault you for some of those, right? It's frustrating, but if you can get away with it, go ahead and do it. Anyways, really good on that. And then there was an incomplete pass later on. Just overall -2 yards on that first drive, forcing them to punt it 3 and out. And then all of a sudden you come out on offense and you had a really good pass for 15 yards over to Brennan Thompson. I do want to say, even though that turned into a 15-yard play on the first play with passing the ball, that was kind of a screen pass, so I can understand that if memory serves me correctly, it's kind of behind the line. Easy pass to complete. So I do like the fact that you're giving your young freshman quarterback in his first start ever on the road. I like the fact that you're giving him an easy pass if you're going to make him pass the ball. But why are we passing the ball on the first play of the game with all of this pressure on the young guy? I didn't like that. Next play, next couple of plays, go to a couple of run plays, and they're forward, but not much. And, the run game just wasn't really working well. And it's been something that we've been struggling with. And you know what? For me, a lot of it is play calling, because the run game's not working very well because we keep on doing this inside zone stuff that just keeps on running into a brick wall. And that just doesn't seem to work for us. Whatever blocking schemes are set up for those inside zone plays, just not working. Every time that we ran it to the outside, really this season, I feel like we've had a lot of success, specifically with Javonte Barnes, because he's got that speed to cut around to the outside, and he's also got that vision to be able to see where to get on the outside. So personally, I felt like the run game wasn't working because of the play calling. I think that we need to get outside more with these runs. We don't really have that back. I mean, Taylor Tatum is a back that you can stick up in those inside zones, and he's going to create something. I just don't think Javonte Barnes is that guy. So that was one thing that I took away on that first drive. But ultimately, we thought, man, we got our guy, because all of a sudden, 48-yard touchdown, Michael Hawkins sees man coverage and takes advantage of it with his legs, which is something that we were excited about, something that we wanted to see, and it just felt like, man, this offense is going to do something. Well, this offense is going to be able to move the ball because we have Michael Hawkins in at quarterback, and it felt really good. All the momentum on our side. then they get over on offense and they start to move it a little bit. They start to get some big ones. They had a big 15-yard pass over to Jarquez Hunter, and that was one that was really big. He was a big-time player for them all game long. Anytime that he was on the field, it seems like he was making a play. Anytime that he had his hands on the ball anyways. But, just big-time play there. There was another chunk play over to Robert Lewis later on. Just a bunch of just little chunks and getting downfield. And ultimately, we end up forcing that goal line stand down there, that 4th and goal on the 1-yard line. This felt like a really big moment for Oklahoma because it's 4th and goal. They had to use a timeout, which I didn't like. I felt like we could have utilized, honestly, I felt like we could have stopped what they were giving us. But anyways, a timeout there, and it ends up stopping them. First off, going back to the 3rd and goal from the 3, we had Jarquez Hunter. He ran the ball and only got a couple yards, and the defense was able to make a big stop. And that's something that you love to see. But then ultimately, they put in that Sam Jackson, and I don't really know what the thought process was there. First of all, first drive of the game, or I guess second drive of the game for Auburn, and you need to score. You need to put points on the board because we know that this is going to be more of a defensive battle. It's going to be a lower scoring game. Everyone knew that. I don't know why Auburn didn't try to just kick the field goal. We saw later on that their kicker isn't very good. So maybe that's why. Maybe that's why they didn't end up going for that. But we end up forcing the turnover there on downs. They go for it on 4th down, can't make it. Big time goal line stand. Love to see that from the defense. It felt like all the momentum in the world on Oklahoma's side. 3 and out. They start to drive the ball down the field, get 74 yards on that drive, but can't capitalize because of big time red zone defense. And that's something you love to see. But then the very next drive for Oklahoma, just can't get anything going. Try running the ball with Javante Barnes, only gets about 3 yards. Another run, only a couple of yards. Again, trying to push that ball up the middle. I just didn't like that game plan, and it wasn't going to work. And then I believe we tried passing the ball later on 3rd down and 5 from the 6-yard line. Michael Hawkins feeling too much pressure, and that's a freshman moment. And it's something that he can learn from. It's something that he can look back on and say, I think I probably overreacted to some of that pressure and tried to make something too quickly rather than maybe, hey, if I would have kept my eyes downfield. That was one thing with Michael Hawkins. I just felt like he can improve on keeping his eyes downfield, trying to find that open receiver wherever he might be. And because you're not always going to have that man coverage where you can take off. And ultimately, you saw Auburn try to stop him a lot more later on in the game by putting that spy on him. And they did pretty well at keeping him contained. He was able to make some plays. Overall, really good game from him. I don't think he had an outstanding game. He had a lot he could learn from, but we got to win. So I would rather you be able to learn from a win and feel like a loss, where this offense didn't perform well. The offense wasn't able to capitalize on a lot of big time, momentum shifts, but you won the game. So that's the kind of thing that you love to see. But we end up later on having another good drive. Then again, a bad drive by the offense. That one was just another kind of bad run, and then incomplete pass. And that was just, and I believe that incomplete pass was the intentional grounding that ended up getting reversed because of their kind of equaled out because of the pass interference. And yeah, it wasn't a great drive again. Anyways, moving on. Had to punt the ball, and then the next drive is whenever Auburn comes back with a big touchdown, and ultimately it was Keandre Lambert-Smith, the guy that just seems like nobody was able to stop him, and ultimately it was really that, I believe that drive, so earlier it was Cam Coleman with a big catch, and I think that was Kenai Walker, and then Des Malone letting up Keandre Lambert-Smith with the big touchdown. So, that was just those two guys. I didn't feel like those two guys had their best game. It didn't feel good. I feel like they could have had a better game overall. And I think when Eli Bowen was in the game, you saw a difference between Kenai Walker and Eli Bowen. Eli Bowen is faster. Kenai Walker is bigger. So when you're down there in the red zone, yes, I would love to have Kani Walker. If you're pushed back your back is against a wall, I want Kani Walker in there. But Eli Bowen played a better game, and it was you saw that with with Cam Coleman kind of being able to push Kani Walker around, not really push him around, but be able to separate with some of those moves, and his route running was able to separate. His speed was able to separate from Kani Walker, and yeah, I didn't like having him in the game. Ultimately, they get a touchdown there. They get I guess they were able to separate now and put a second touchdown up. They're up 14 points. Let me see. I think I might have jumped ahead. Yes, we had that was the first touchdown. Later on, they end up getting another touchdown the next drive. So the next drive that they're on offense, they go up 14-7. This is when it starts to feel a little bit of panic mode because the offense isn't moving the ball, and Oklahoma fans know how that feels when your offense is just doing this poorly. There in the first half, you had that big 68-yard drive. Then you go 5 yards, -10 because of some penalties in crucial moments. Then you only have 29 yards, 5 yards. That's what you had in the first half. So then at the end of the half, you saw Auburn get down there. They really poor clock management. Ultimately, just poor clock management, and they push the ball down there. They get themselves into field goal position, but they didn't have a timeout sitting in their pocket. So they're forced to rush their kicking team on the field. They miss the field goal, but we get called for having 12 men on the field. And I want to reflect back on that for a moment, because what I was looking at, I thought that was strange to me, because when the offense swaps players out, when they substitute players out, usually you have to stand there as the referee and stop them from snapping the ball until Oklahoma's made their complete shifts. And I feel like they weren't doing that, and so Oklahoma had to hurry up and rush. And they got the next unit on. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe when you're shifting units, that's not the same rule. But that seemed a little odd to me. And anyways, they end up getting the re-kick, and he misses it again anyways, and worse that time. So that when he actually sat there and tried to kick the field goal and had time to because of the penalty, then he didn't. And what was his name? Towns McGee. That was his name. Towns Magoo. That's what it is. Towns Magoo ends up missing the 2 field goals back to back, and it was only a 27-yarder there for that second one too. So I thought that was strange that with that entire sequence, like that feels like a gut punch, because we just got them where, we were able to keep them from getting in the, out of bounds too. And there was a big tackle, and I don't remember who made that tackle. Big heads up play to make the tackle on defense, keep them in bounds. And that's what put them into that bad situation. So, ultimately, that was really awesome to see that you were able to keep them in bounds. They were forced to hurry up and rush. They missed the field goal, so it felt really good. You saw the big smile on Brent Venables' face whenever that happened. And then the penalty comes in. And so that sucked. But then, of course, missing it, that was big time. It kind of felt like a little bit of a momentum, not really swing, but just a neutralizer, because, man, that just kind of takes the wind out of your sails. When you get down there, you execute the drive pretty well, but not to your full extent. And there you are, you end up settling there for a field goal. Anyways, going on to the second half, before we get to the second half, let's go ahead and take a break real quick and get to the comments. Let's see what you guys got. I'm not going to be able to pull them up on screen for you guys today. Looks like we only got a couple people commenting right now. Furry Marie, Bama fan, says, do you think, by the way, congratulations to Bama. You guys, man, it was scary. I don't know what happened. I didn't watch the part where Georgia came back. I actually went over, started packing my bags, came back, looked at the screen. I was like, holy cow, Georgia's making this a game. And so, Carson Beck was like very inconsistent, really good, really bad for a long time. Then all of a sudden turned on the Jets. Anyways, getting back to the Oklahoma game. Furry Marie says, do you think Arnold would have played better? I don't think he would have played better. Here's the thing. Here's why I believe that this was such a close game. Oklahoma was without a ton of starters, and I know that sounds like an excuse, but look at the reality. I mean, if Oklahoma has Jaleel Farouk, Jaden Gibson, Nick Anderson, Andrel Anthony, Deion Burks, if they just have half of those guys, if they're able to get 2 or 3 of those guys in the game, because Jaleel Farouk, Jaden Gibson were out for the season, but Nick Anderson, Andrel Anthony, and Deion Burks have all been out on the field this season, and we expected them to be able to play. if those three are on the field, you've got wide receivers that are able to make better separation. You've got your guys out there. So without your top 5 wide receivers, and those are the top 5 wide receivers, not necessarily in that order. I think it goes Deion Burks, then probably Nick Anderson, Jalil Farouk, and then Andrel Anthony. Those are probably your top 4. And then we had Jaden Gibson, who's kind of a mix in there. So that's not your top receivers. But without those, the really at least 3 of those receivers, what are you supposed to do? Where are you supposed to throw the ball? How are you supposed to make your pass game feel like a threat to where you can open up the run game if you don't have those guys? I do think that the offensive line looked much better yesterday. I think they performed really well. I'm not going to lie. I feel like it feels like the offensive line is finally starting to get back to where they need to be. And it's because of those injuries starting to heal up a little bit. And it feels like they're starting to get back to where they need to be. So ultimately, I don't think Jackson Arnold would have performed better. I don't think he would have done worse either. And ultimately, I think Michael Hawkins was the right move. And I think you had to have Michael Hawkins in this game because of the way that Jackson Arnold turned the ball over in that Tennessee game. And I don't blame all of that. The turnovers were his fault, right? But I don't blame everything around the turnovers on Jackson Arnold. You don't have receivers to pass to. You were getting a lot of pressure on you. And then, there's so much that goes into that. So, I don't blame you for feeling very, flustered in those moments, especially against Tennessee. But at the same time, you've got to be able to manage that. If you're a starting quarterback at the University of Oklahoma, Michael Hawkins is able to do that. He really didn't put the ball in harm's way once. There was the only bad thing I can say about him was that he didn't keep his eyes downfield. I brought that one up, but the only bad thing I can say about him was the intentional grounding that ended up getting, canceled out anyways. But that was the only bad thing that I saw from him all game. So, with Jackson Arnold in there, I'm concerned that maybe he still has those panicking tendencies and turns the ball over. So I don't think Jackson Arnold would have played better. I don't think he necessarily would have played worse. Anyways, going over to Jimmy Satterfield, he says the cornerbacks, the cornerbacks, the CBs, the weak link on defense ? I would say Des Malone had a weak game. He's not usually that bad. He really isn't, and I don't know why he didn't have a good game. I feel like, it's mainly just because Keandre Lambert-Smith is just that good. Keandre Lambert-Smith was just cooking him all game. And so I don't blame him. He went against one of the toughest wide receivers he's had to go against all season long. And then I do feel like Kenai Walker is just he's not performing well in open space. He's really good at zone coverage and he's really good in the red zone. That's where I want to see him play. It's not the cornerbacks. I don't think that was a weak link on defense, and I don't think it's going to be a weak link on defense going into the future. Woody Washington not playing out at corner hurts us, and the only reason why he wasn't playing at corner was because he's playing a lot of that cheetah role. So that's something to take into consideration. Without Kendall Dolby in there at that cheetah, this defense does feel a little bit different. It doesn't have as much of a pressure just because Kendall Dolby fires into the backfield like a missile. He really does. So I don't think the cornerbacks are an issue. It's just Des Malone had a rough game. I will call him out. I'm not scared to do that with these guys that are getting paid now, right? So and it's not me calling him out trying to throw shade or anything either. They had a rough game, but they won the game, so you can't get mad at it at all. But Des Malone, I will call him out. I think he had a rough game. I think Danny Stutzman even kind of had a rough game. There was a lot of times where I felt like he bit, so there was that fake flea flicker. He bit on that really hard, and I didn't even think they sold it very well. So that was kind of rough. Excuse me while I take a drink of water real quick. That fall air is starting to get a little drier, so throat's starting to get a little dry. Mouth is a little dry. A lot of traveling too, so it's just kind of like tired dryness maybe. But anyways, going back to that defense, I felt like Danny Stutzman didn't have a great game. I thought Billy Bowman had positioning to make a pick in that game in a crucial moment of the game too. I can't remember exactly when that was, but I know he had his hand on the ball and he kind of bit down, and I don't really know where he thought he was going. I think he followed the receiver more than watching the quarterback's eyes, and so that was kind of disappointing, but he still had a really good game. Billy did. Shout outs. I mean, you've got to give it to Robert Spears-Jennings and then R. Mason Thomas. Trace Ford had a couple of big plays. He definitely looked really good again. Overall, yeah, I mean, defense just had broken plays led up, and I think a big part of it was that they weren't expecting Peyton Thorne to be able to throw this well on him. Peyton Thorne played a really good game, and if he doesn't throw that pick six, I call it the Kip six. If he doesn't throw that, then I almost wonder if Peyton Thorne's not being held up as, the guy that won this game because of how great he played, because if he doesn't throw that pick six, I don't know if we win. So anyways, going into the second half, we get a field goal, we force a punt, we had to punt first drive, force a punt, then we end up getting a field goal. And then that field goal drive was a really good drive too, and it just stalled. First, you had Javante Barnes with a big run. I think the biggest run of the day. I can check on that in a little bit. Yeah, he had a really big run though. 16-yard run gets us down, gets us going, and then he has a couple of short runs, and then Michael Hawkins able to use his legs. Ultimately, getting down there, it felt like a lot of small chunk plays getting through that run game. And again, every time that we ran inside, I'm going to keep on bringing that up. Every time that we ran inside, the offensive line just wasn't able to make a hole for the running backs inside. And Seth Littrell has to see that. Seth Littrell, I don't think that the game plan was very good on offense. I really don't. And I can get to more of that here in just a second. But yeah, I didn't think the game plan was very good. Anyways, yeah, that field goal drive, I felt like that was a really good drive. And then you had a couple of short plays. And then you also had, I believe, let me go back real quick. You had J.J. Hester had a big catch for 21 yards, gets us down to the 17 for first down. And then there was a penalty that got us down. And let me see, I think it was this drive, and I guess it wasn't. But anyways, some of the penalties were killing us on some of these drives. Zach Schmidt, 24-yard field goal. I really liked to see him get in there and get some field goals. Really proud of him because, I mean, he could have easily hung it up this year. Just say, I'm done here. Anyways, we're back in this 10-14. We're feeling good. Feels like the momentum's starting to shift back over to us. And then Peyton Thorne just puts on another clinic, ends up marching them down for another field goal. And it was a big Cam Coleman, 42-yard catch, which was a shove off. It was offensive pass interference. But you know what? One thing that I noticed after watching, so we've been critical, I think just sports media in general has been really critical of the officiating not calling offensive pass interference, and I think they heard that, and they were throwing so much yesterday, so much offensive pass interference, it was ridiculous. There was a couple, I think, called, I think we had it was Jake Roberts, I think, got called for offensive pass interference in our game. I saw a few that get thrown. I think there was one over in the Georgia-Bama game that I saw that was kind of crazy. There was one really bad one called on Nebraska that took back a touchdown. I was watching that game. I mean, there was a bunch of it called yesterday. So yeah, I mean, I stuff like that, it kills you. But anyways, it wasn't called here on Cam Coleman. I think I don't know how you argue it wasn't. Good shove off. Anyways, he gets the 42-yard completion. Got to play better defense ultimately. Can't really rely on the refs to make the calls, and especially in a chippy play like that. It was close, but it should have been called. It was close. It was close enough to where you shouldn't have to rely on that penalty in that situation. Anyways, getting down to it, I mean, they had 4th and 1 down there on the 3, and they were able to QB sneak, and that was a really good one. And then a nice little pass out to Deal for the 1-yard touchdown. So and I believe that was the one where Billy Bowman even was draped all over him. Really good catch. And I'm okay with Billy Bowman making the pass interference on that play because it's 1st and goal. You can't really do anything. They're going to move it forward, a half a yard. And so you might as well. And I mean, Deal just makes a really good catch. So can't be mad about that at all. Then we turn it over on downs. That one sucked. And what's yeah, I mean that one was a bad play, bad drive. Anyways, then Auburn gets down. They miss another field goal. That was kind of a questionable call at that moment because of what happened in the first half. Why are you kicking field goal? Because I think that was a 51-yard attempt, if my memory serves me correctly. So I don't know why they kicked the field goal there, but we're down 21-10, and we have a big time drive. You had that beautiful dime to J.J. Hester, really good catch in a really big moment, and a really good pass. And that's one of those passes I think Jackson Arnold could make that pass too. But would he have found the open receiver, or is he too worried about the pressure? Because there was pressure coming in on Michael Hawkins, and he's able to deliver a beautiful pass. So that's one of those moments where I think either quarterback can make that moment. But like going back to that 48-yard touchdown, that's something that we just haven't seen much from Jackson Arnold. When we know that he's got the wheels, right? We know that he's just as capable on his feet as Michael Hawkins, but Michael Hawkins just isn't scared to do it. And then you saw it again later on with the 2-point conversion. But big time, and then we end up getting it down, got the touchdown, and then we failed on the 2-point conversion, so we're down 5 at this point. That's when the Kip 6 comes in, and we were preaching about this. We have to win the turnover battle in order to win this game. We have to get turnovers, and you know what? We should be able to get turnovers in this game because the Auburn offense has been terrible, turning it over 2.5 times a game. And our defense has been the best in the nation, one of the best in the nation, getting turnovers. So we've got to get those turnovers. And at this point, we didn't just need a turnover. We needed exactly what Kip did. Kip Lewis gets the tipped pass and makes an interception. There was a couple of times earlier on in the game where I thought there was one in the red zone where I thought we should have had an interception. I think the Keandre Lambert-Smith touchdown, if memory serves me correctly, I think that was another one where I thought Des Malone has to turn around and make a play on the ball, and he comes away with an interception if he does. And then there was one, of course, where I thought Billy Bowman just played to the receiver rather than watching the quarterback's eyes, but there was an interception a possibility. There was one where Peyton Thorne fumbled the ball, and really good heads-up play by him. Got to give him his flowers because he played an amazing game. Yeah, I believe it was Trace Ford that got back there, got the strip. It was either Trace Ford or Ethan Downs got back there and got the strip, and Peyton Thorne just jumped right back on the ball really quick. So, that was definitely something that, you've got to get turnovers, and we didn't have him down to 4 minutes into the fourth quarter. So we needed it. We needed it really bad, and then we got that pick six. That pick six now puts us up, and I believe after that pick six, we end up going for 2. See here. Yeah, 2-point conversion. So, and then that's the 2-point conversion where Michael Hawkins gets in there, got the 2-point conversion by jumping over and sacrificing himself again. He's just not scared. He's just not scared of the contact. And that's a little nerve-wracking because you don't want to put your body on the line that much and get yourself injured when you're the starting quarterback. But you also love to see it at the same time because it just shows how dedicated, how much he wants this. So I love the heart and the energy that he played with. I really do. Even though he didn't have a great game, and I see Jimmy Satterfield even said, hard to believe Auburn outgained us by almost 200 yards. It is crazy because, it just, you watch that game, and if you take away Oklahoma's scoring drives, if you're not watching those drives, everything else just looked like Auburn owned this. If you didn't watch this game at all and you just looked at the stat line and without seeing the score, you would have said Auburn probably won this game 32 to 17. That's the way it felt. And 17 points in the fourth quarter, and the defense just standing up when they needed to. I also feel like there was some bad play calling, and a very similar situation at Auburn as what we had with Jackson Arnold. So Auburn and Peyton Thorne, they call an RPO play a couple of times when they need to just be running the ball and run the clock out. And they don't tell their quarterback this is not a run pass option. This is just a run. Okay. And I don't know why you even call an RPO play if that's not what you're intending to do. So, Peyton Thorne sees the safeties come down, makes the read that he thinks he should make, and then you stop the clock. And that happened a couple of times. ultimately, I mean, our Mason Thomas there coming up, I believe, twice in that fourth quarter on that last drive. There was 3rd and 5. Our Mason Thomas gets back there for a big sack, and then 4th and 11 gets back there for another sack, of 13-yard loss. That was huge. So our Mason Thomas stepping up in key moments one more time to close this game out, and then we're close enough where we just run the ball and we keep it conservative. There was a false start that kind of backed us up. Stuff like that's got to be fixed. You can't be having these stupid penalties that just hurt you. Ultimately, got close enough to where Zach Schmidt comes in and kicks the field goal, puts us up by 6. We cover the initial spread. So the initial spread at -3, and then it came down to 2.5, swapped over to where Auburn was a 1-point favorite. We ended up covering that 3-point spread. So winning by 6, and it was just huge for the defense to be able to play as good as they did right there in the last moments, and just kind of playing that prevent there at the end, making sure that they can't get down there because they've got to score a touchdown. So you just got to keep them out of the end zone. And then I thought it was kind of crazy that they have that Hail Mary on 4th and 1 with a second left, and Peyton Thorne launches it on the field, and it doesn't even get down. I mean, it got down to like the 15-yard line, somewhere around there. Completes the pass, but Oklahoma at that point was just not really focusing on that because they didn't want to go up and bite on the ball and then have him catch it and get behind them. So really good job just keeping everything in front of you there on that last drive. And ultimately, Sooners come out with a really good win. Not a great way to do it because, like what Jimmy Satterfield said there in the chat, it's crazy when you look at this. So only 11 first downs. We lit up 26. We were 2 for 11 on 3rd downs. That has been an issue. And again, it's because we can't get forward. We can't keep ourselves ahead of the sticks on 1st and 2nd down. That's ultimately where it comes down to. But 291 total yards for Oklahoma. We let up 482, almost 500 yards. Really a bad day for the defense. We did have 130 total yards rushing, and I'll get to that here in just a second. Michael Hawkins was a leading rusher mainly because of that huge 48-yard run. But I'm happy with the team effort to getting 161 yards total rushing. Can't be too mad about that. And overall, there was actually, I'm trying to look. This does not have it properly. Let me double check here. We called 25 run plays and 29 pass plays. Or sorry, other way around. 25 pass plays, 29 run plays. So we leaned on that run game a little bit more, and it might not have been the right move because of where we were at in this game, kind of trailing. We were down by 11 points, but it ends up working. We end up getting away with the win. Going down, they ended up owning the time of possession by 11 minutes. That hurts. They were just playing keep away, and they were able to run the ball pretty efficiently overall. It felt like earlier in the game, 4th quarter, the defense just stood up. The defense was not being pushed around in the 4th quarter. That's ultimately what did it there. Another telltale too was the 78 yards and penalties total that we had. And getting that turnover was big. That pick 6, because without that, I don't know if we win. But we end up getting 4 yards a carry. I'm happy with that. If you can average 4 yards a carry, you can do good things. I think we could run the ball a little bit more than we did, because, like I said, there's 29 run calls. So there was 32 overall runs, but some of that was scrambles and stuff that's not really designed run. So 29 run plays. I'm pretty happy with that. Something that was crazy, and guys, please feel free to jump down in the chat, throw whatever you want. So one thing that's crazy. So see if I can pinpoint the exact moment. It was in the 4th quarter, and Jarquez Hunter has a 22-yard run down to the Oklahoma 33-yard line. Why does it keep on going away on me? For a first down. This was at 11 minutes, 30 seconds in the 4th quarter, and Auburn has, at that point, a 97.4% chance to win. All they have to do is hold on to the ball. All they have to do is just keep that ball out of Oklahoma's hands with a 97.4% chance to win. And what that is, it's just kind of calculating 97.4% of teams that are in this situation in the 4th quarter with, what did I say? right there, 94.7. It's hard to get this stupid computer to work for me, zone back in on that exact moment. So apologies for that. But right there with 11:30 in the game, let's scroll down and see where they were at with 11:30 in the game. So with 11:30 in the game, that is when my computer just does not want to cooperate. With 11:30 in the game, they are up at that point. I believe they're up 14-7, and I think that play ends up getting them down to where they end up getting themselves up 21. Yeah, so later on in that quarter, they end up getting themselves up 11 points. So they're up 11 points. Apologies, that's actually they're wrong. That was not in the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, yeah, that's that 22-yard run. So yeah, they're up 22-10 or 21-10. Excuse me. My brain is not working. A lot of traveling today, and it's just not working today, guys. But yeah, I mean that's how crazy that is, and it sets them up for where they could have been in field position, but then they're in field goal position, but then they just can't get anything going after that. So then they end up setting up for that 51-yard field goal, miss it, and then all of a sudden the tide changed. The tide changed. Oklahoma takes over, and it's all Oklahoma after that. Big touchdown after they missed the field goal because the momentum changed, and that touchdown fires up the defense. Hey guys, we got a chance in this. We just got to get this ball back. And so they start off with 8 minutes left on the clock, just about 8.5 minutes left on the clock, and they can't run that down. Oklahoma intercepts it and takes it back for a touchdown later on with that field goal to kind of seal the deal. And I really like the fact that we just took the field goal there to go up 6. That's all we needed. But, man, you guys are not very talkative today. Make sure to hit that like button, everybody. You can go over to Soonerspotlight.com. Check out everything that we do. We're going to try to get some more blog post stuff if you're a reader. I like to read personally. I love to just dive in and just read all kinds of content. If you like to read, you can find all kinds of blogs on there. You can also find our merch store with different hats and stuff, hats and T-shirts, all kinds of stuff over there. So go check it out, the merch store, if you want to support this podcast. A free and easy way to support this podcast. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, guys. But I mean, overall, what else do you guys want to hear about in this game? Because that's pretty much all my thoughts that I've got, and I'm kind of relying on you guys. I know this is unconventional timing. Usually we do these on Sundays at noon for our post-game show, but we're just hopping on here and diving through this. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. So Peyton Thorne, again, I just want to shout him out because I think he had a really good game. Our defense did really good too, just holding them to only what was that, 144 rushing yards. I'm happy with that, with a really good rushing team and a team that I think their game plan was to try to run the ball more. I'm really happy with that. But Peyton Thorne, just want to give him a shout out because with all the pressure that he's got right now, and you could tell he was playing with just a fire in his heart, trying to do something for this Auburn football team. 21 of 32, 338 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then he throws that interception. Without that pick six, he's the savior. And Auburn fans are feeling really good. I mean, hey, can he keep this consistency? Cam Coleman had a pretty good game. But ultimately, I felt like Keandre Lambert-Smith was the bigger guy. He was the bigger game changer. I feel like he was able to create more separation. He was able to get a little bit more going. Cam Coleman just dropping some passes in key moments. I think that first drive was kind of killed because of that. And he did have some big catches, but we did let up. Let's see here. We let up a 42-yard pass to Cam Coleman. We let up a 31-yard pass to Keandre Lambert-Smith. 43-yard pass. I'm not really going to count that. That was that Hail Mary. But then there was a 48-yard pass to Malcolm Simmons. So just a bunch of really big chunk plays, and a lot of that again comes from Kenai Walker and who was that? Kenai Walker and Des Malone. Those were the two guys that I see that just really kind of caused a lot of those issues. We got to get Eli Bowen in the game more, get him more comfortable, get him some meaningful reps. But I see Jimmy Satterfield. He jumps back in. He says the bye is coming at a good time. Hopefully we can get healthy for Texas. Yeah, I agree. I think we need Deion Burks in the game at the very least. I haven't heard anything official. I've heard a lot of rumors, and I don't want to spread rumors on this show. This show is not for the rumors. I've talked to some people that are pretty reliable, but it's a lot of speculation on Nick Anderson. So I don't know about Nick Anderson. I think we want him in. I think we feel like we need him in when we play Texas. Andrel Anthony is one that has been a huge question mark, and no answers are being given. I don't understand Andrel Anthony at all. He was expected to be in for the last 2-3 weeks, and he's just not. And Nick Anderson, I don't really understand what's taking so long in the recovery for him, because it was kind of a very minor bang up. And so maybe they are just keeping him out and hoping that he's healthy for Texas. But yeah, I mean, I do think, Jimmy, I do think that the bye week is coming at a perfect time. And I believe Texas is also on a bye week. So how awesome is that? So going back to that Alabama-Georgia game, both of them coming off of a bye week. Let me double check so I don't eat my own words. Yeah, they're going to have a bye week as well. So that's pretty awesome. Kind of weird that it's going to be a 2:30 game, but I kind of like it. I kind of like it because I personally don't like the 11 a.m. games. I don't like it. I hate waiting all day for the late night slot, but those obviously have the most energy. That 2:30 feels right though for this Red River rivalry, Red River shootout, however you want to call it. We're gonna preview that game a lot this week, getting into it, and then even bleeding into next week too. So, and I want to try to get a hold of some media personnel that knows a lot about Texas and kind of leading into that game, because, man, I just think that Texas game is looking, it's looking scary right now because we don't have an offense. We don't have an offense at all. We definitely need this bye week though to try to heal up and hope that this offense can get going. The offensive line looking a lot better. So I mean, that's at least one thing that you can look at and say, hey, I'm glad that the offensive line is starting to get a little bit better, and hopefully this bye week can help them get a little bit more time together, get a little bit more comfortable, kind of get that going. But one thing is, I mean, if Arch Manning's in the game for Texas, I'm feeling a little bit better because it feels like they're not really moving the ball super efficiently and consistently. So I think that we can force that the young Arch Manning to throw some interceptions where, but at the same time, Quinn Ewers, I would like to see him back in after being banged up a little bit, because maybe that's the way to go. But I don't know. I guess I want their best. I want to be able to play Texas at their best. They did get bumped down to number 2. I was really hoping that they could keep that number 1 spot so we could play them at their best, in many ways. But that's just not the case. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the Texas game. I think we have a chance with this defense, right? I mean, we've talked about this in the past. I think we have a chance with this defense and a little bit of Sooner magic. I mean, let's talk about that. Do you guys think that Sooner magic is back? Because I mean, it's been thrown around a lot, and I keep on asking myself, was this Sooner magic? And I look at it, I mean, down 11 points with, what was it, 8.5 minutes left to go in the game, something like that, and you turn it around. That Tennessee game, we had a very similar situation. We couldn't quite turn it around. We were able to do it against Auburn in a hostile environment. It was very loud there, very loud. I heard some people trying to downplay it as if it wasn't loud. It was extremely loud. One of the loudest college football venues in the nation. So, I mean, you can't downplay what Auburn was able to do. So, I mean, the fans showed up. It was a really good game by Auburn. I think they game planned very well, except for that fourth quarter. If they game plan for that 8.5 minute mark, through a lot better than they don't throw the interception. I think that, that was just a really poor performance there in the fourth quarter for Auburn, and they kind of beat themselves. But at the same moment, I also think that Oklahoma stole this from them. And again, going to that, Jimmy says, yeah, Sooner Magic's real. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's got to be. I remember watching Trevor Knight in that Sugar Bowl. The team that had no business really going against Alabama, who should have been playing for a national championship in their own opinion. So, going against the national championship contending Alabama team who gets to go to the Sugar Bowl. And I remember just watching that game. That was one of those games where if you don't believe in Sooner Magic, that's what it is. Or even going back to Baker Mayfield winning against Tennessee and coming back, or Jalen Hurts leading that Oklahoma team to, I think that was 2019, leading that Oklahoma team against Baylor when you're down big. So yeah, this was one of those feeling games, man. I think it's big. Boom Squad hops in the chat. He says Auburn got their butt kicked on the last 4 drives. Yeah, man. I mean, last 4 drives, that's where the defense really started standing up, doing a lot of good things. But we're going to get to more. We're going to start maybe even diving back into some of what the coaches had to say about this game, a little bit more kind of diving into the specific analytics that I've been kind of putting together in this game throughout the week. It's a bye week, so we won't have a pregame and postgame show this upcoming week, but we're still going to make sure that we get some content put out for you guys. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, go over to Soonerspotlight.com. Check out everything over there. Check out the merch store if you'd like to help support this podcast directly. That's the best way to help us. Otherwise, just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you would, share it with one friend, share it on social media, something of that effect. We appreciate all of you guys. And one more thing too. Go give us a follow, give us a subscribe if you're on Apple Podcast or Spotify, just to go give us a little bit of love over there and give us a 5-star review as well. That helps us out greatly. We appreciate all of you guys for all the love, all the support. We'll catch you next time. Boomer.